Hi, and welcome to the Mythery Show. And I'm Mythery, your host.
Mythery, what are
Yes.
you doing?
Well, you said it was going to be all about me.
Good evening, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody.
And please welcome the star of the Mythery Show, Mythery.
Hello.
All right, Mythery, as you are our guest this week, we have an opportunity to ask you a question, and the first one is, how did you get involved with Dungeons & Dragons?
Well, when I was probably around 13 or 14, my brother was interested in Dungeons & Dragons, and I was interested in everything my brother was doing, so I hung out. I didn't get to play because I was a lot younger than him, but and then when I got a little older, there was a community college where I lived that actually taught Dungeons and Dragons as a class.
What?
Okay,
Yeah.
Now that is amazing.
And so I got really excited because I thought, oh, I'm going to have some people to play with. And, I never could find any people to play with. But eventually, of course, I did find people that played. And I always played Halfling Rogue because I thought I wanted to be sneaky.
Ooh. All right, and how did you get involved in Dungeons & Dragons Online?
Well, I had been playing a game called Dungeon Siege, and Diablo 2 had been played out for me, and I was just looking around on the internet for what's going on, and that's when I ran into Dungeons & Dragons Online, and I thought, perfect! So I went out and bought it, because you could buy it at the time, I think. It came with, free 30 days trial when you bought the game, and I have been here ever since 9 years ago.
9 years? Wow. So you're getting close to your 10th anniversary with the game. Anything else you'd like to add about your time with Dungeons & Dragons Online?
Just that I am addicted and can't get away. And a couple of years ago, I ran into Lessa when I joined a PD group, and she and Sabajade and I ended up making a little group of players called the Damsels, and I am having so much fun doing that. It's crazy.
All right, then. We'll get to more of that later. But for now, let's go into our game news. And our first bit of news is that Update 24 Patch 2 has been released. Is there anything exciting in this patch track?
There was quite a few things, actually. Looks like they tweaked champions a little bit. The mysterious remnant rewards have been updated, so you might want to take a trip to the Hall of Heroes and check out the vendor to see what's new. I actually did not have a chance today to go look to see what was new, so I was going to try to do that before the show, but I ran out of time.
Well, did you have a chance, Mythery?
Sorry, I have not had a chance.
Okay.
Also, it looks like the chest drops for the mysterious remnants are now going to disappear after 3 minutes. So you might want to pick those up as soon as you see them, or hurry back to get them within 3 minutes. If not, you are going to be out of luck on those.
Ooh.
So that's what they did to the champions, and I know if you're looking in the forums, they're still talking about adding some other rewards and tweaking champions some more. So I will guess the champions are a work in progress. Also, they did do some updates to combat. The melee power boost from Smite and Exalted Smite will now apply more consistently. So I'm sure there's a big cheer from a lot of players out there for that, because I know that was a big concern of a lot of players. And the Cyclonic Blast no longer has an additional and unnecessary saving throw. So a few tweaks in the combat. That's always good to see that they're looking on how combat's playing out and tweaking it as needed. They also changed a little bit for the enhancements in the Epic Destinies. You can go into the patch notes, which I linked in the article, to see those. But the biggest thing, I think, to this patch was for game performance. We all know the lag monster is pretty rampant these days, so they are trying to fix them. They have made some performance improvements to Divine Crusader's Wrath of the Righteous. Shadows in the Forgotten Realms have also had their teleportation behavior adjusted. And I know today I popped in a little bit on my Shatterkai, and I did notice that the shadows that are around in Wayloon were acting a little different than they had. I didn't really notice if that helped my performance of the game any or not, but I guess that's neither here nor there. They also made a bunch of improvements to the end fight in the Temple of the Deathworm. And again, I think I will pause for all of the cheers, because I know a lot of people have been complaining about Deathworm lately. I guess it tends to lag out most of the time when you're doing it. So these changes they made in the end fight will help that as well. And they're just some little tweaks here and there, and they did some performance improvements in the Thunderhome Wilderness area and other little minor adjustments. And they adjusted some other quest and some adventure areas. So you can go over to the site and see the post I put up, and then there's also a link there where you can read the full patch notes. But it's always good to see him kind of adjusting things like that to try to especially help in the lag department and make the game run a little smoother, because we would like that. I'm assuming all of us would.
Thank you, Drac. And the second big piece of news is that they have released the 2015 DDO Players Council member list. And Drac, I guess you must not have applied because I don't see your name here.
I did not, actually. I actually found out too late that we could apply.
Yeah, there was that where
we weren't sure.
We didn't apply because we thought that we were definitely off on the no-no list.
Right, yeah, but as it turns out, fan sites could apply. So, but congratulations to all the people. If you want to see who's on the council and see if you know any of the players, you can head over to the forums, which I linked in the post as well, and check out all of their names, and we wish them luck and hope they do a good job bringing some good stuff to us in the next year.
Insanity is your friend. That's got to be the strangest name on the list.
I don't know. I kind of thought Nuclear Elvis was kind of a good one.
Well, okay, Nuclear Elvis is...
Permaband was also another great one, too. But...
no. Someone applied for the council with the name Permaband?
Apparently so. Their name is in the list.
Well, that has got to be the most interesting name I've seen anyone come up with. It sounds like a name you would use if you didn't want to have your application accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. As we said, congrats to all the people that applied and made it.
All right. And let's then go into our chronicle this week, issue number 130, where you get a couple of frisky purple worms in the shot of the week.
That's right. It's kind of a risque shot, I'm telling you. Cover your eyes when you look at the screenshot, folks. Also in the Chronicle, the Damsels of DDO, which we just happen to have one of them here, recently had episode number 8. And it looks like they failed in the missing.
I don't know why it says that. We finished. No, we completed the quest. We finished.
If you completed the quest...
Technically, that's not a fail.
That would not be a fail, then.
Oh, then what? Why did it say fail, then?
I guess we died a lot.
Okay. You died a few times. All right.
Yeah.
I guess everybody's just going to have to go watch the episode and find out. And
I take it then that I took it from the very first episode that the Damsels of DDO is not a permadeath group.
No. No. Mythery would not belong to a permadeath.
And Bonnie Bew in the chat room says there were some precarious moments.
Yes, they were very precarious. But we completed.
Well, see, there you go. Congratulations for completing it, then. So make sure you click on the link in the Chronicle, and you too can watch all the great, crazy, zany adventures of the damsels. Man, I cannot talk at all tonight. I give up. It's hard to do a podcast when you can't talk. DDO Cast just recently had episode 370 that came out. That was a DDO debate. featuring adventure packs. And I started to listen to that today, actually. I haven't got through it all yet, but from what I heard so far, it was another great episode from DDO Cast. And speaking of DDO Cast, they are now doing their live stream Permadeath series, which Pine Leaf was really impressed with the name they came up with.
DDO Kasplat.
And I can't remember. It seems like somebody suggested the name to Patrick, and he used it, but I don't remember who suggested it. But it is a great name. And also, DDO Cocktail Hour had episode 81, and they made their own hirelings and discussed cream cheese, which sounds about right for the cocktail hours. And that's pretty much it for the Chronicle this week. Oh, I guess we should actually talk about, also in the Chronicle, they did mention that the Mimic Hunt will be arriving later on in the week. And I know DDO also tweeted out, too, about the Mimic Hunt and said they will have a walkthrough guide for it up later in the week as well. And the anniversary is going to be next Friday, February 27th, which would be would be next Friday, the 27th. And they're going to do a bunch of stuff on Twitch during the day for the anniversary. So make sure you follow them on Twitch to get updated when they go live, because it sounds like they have a lot of great stuff planned for throughout the day for the anniversary.
All right. Thank you very much. And what's on sale?
In the store, the free sample of the week is a Universal Challenge token. You get 5 of those if you use the coupon code UNIV19. UNIV19. So you get 5 Universal Challenge tokens, but you can only use that coupon code 1 per account. So make sure you're using it on the correct character. 25% off in the store for character slots, which is a big thumbs up.
Yeah, I got 2 of them today.
Always good to see them on sale, especially at 25% off. You can also get improved stat buff potions, healing items, spell point potions, and questing tools, all at 25% off in the DDO store this week.
All right, then. So let's then go into our player news, and all that we have for our players news this week is a screenshot of the week, which seems to follow the theme of last week's show title, because
it's
looks like
kind of funny how that happened, didn't it? Yes. It's kind of curious, yeah. Yep, you can see that is actually me shooting one of the beholders I was talking about last week. I'm trying to figure out which eye to shoot it in, because
go for the eyes.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult with beholders, so you can go over to our site and see that shot. And if you have taken a screenshot that you think is pretty amazing and you would like to share it, send that to podcast@ddoplayers.com, podcast@ddoplayers.com, and we just might feature it on the site.
Very well, then let's go into our Beyond DDO news, where we will begin with the Sword Coast Legends. And you have some new information about this?
Yes, the folks over at MMROPG had a great interview up with Nathan Stewart, who is the brand director for Dungeons & Dragons from Wizards of the Coast, and also Dan Tudge, who is the president of In Space Games, of course, who is creating the Sword Coast Legends. And they had a lot of great new information out. The question they asked was, how does Sword Coast Legends compare to Neverwinter Nights? As many will likely draw this comparison. And in the article I put up for this, I kind of said it's funny that was their question, because when the news first broke of the game and I saw screenshots of the game, that's the first thing I said. I'm like, this reminds me of Neverwinter Nights so much. And Dan Tudge, the president of InSpace, says, right now, a lot of people are talking about how Sword Coast Legend feels reminiscent of Neverwinter Nights. It is a comparison, and that is definitely warranted. SCL is a classic Forgotten Realms adventure on the Sword Coast. It features tactical pause-and-play combat with an isometric camera in real-time 3D environments versus the pre-rendered backgrounds. However, it's the inclusion of the Dungeon Master mode where comparisons to Neverwinter Nights are probably the strongest. Despite both having DM capability, players will find that the DM experience in Sword Coast Legends quite different from those of Neverwinter Nights, finding instead of a system that enables a DM to quickly jump in and immediately start playing in real time. which I'm still just blown away at the aspect of that. How you can just be playing and just have a DM jump in at any time.
All right. My question then is, do they know yet whether it's based on 4th or 5th or whatever edition?
It is 5th edition. They
Okay.
said that when the press release came out.
Okay.
So yes, it will be based off of 5th, which I think everybody is happy about because, 4E, we won't talk about 4E. They also ask them how much control over the adventure does the DM actually have. And Tudge said the DM is fully capable of customizing experiences and significantly altering a player's adventure by changing encounters, placing traps at will, and spawning monsters, creating quest NPCs, generating secret areas, locking doors, or unlocking the doors, all in real time. So you can be, I took this to mean you can be a good DM or you can be an evil DM. And we all know which camp I'm going to fall in.
Yes. I know your camp quite well.
So you can head over to our site and see some of the other questions and a couple new screenshots. And also I linked to the full article because there was a ton of information. I didn't barely even scratch the surface of what MMORPG had in their interview. So it's well worth a read over on MMORPG. And hats off to those folks for getting the interview and doing such a great job at it.
Very well, thank you. And I heard that someone also had a look inside of the Temple of Elemental Evil. I hope they didn't get killed by cultists while inside.
Well, we all know how dangerous the temple can be. Yeah, it was a big week for 5e and D&D type news. There was a board game convention last weekend, and they actually had some playable copies of Elemental Evil there. Ken Staples, who is a well-known poster over on Board Game Geek, did have a chance to actually sit down and play it, and he laid out some of the differences between this one and, the other games in the Adventure Box board game series, which would be Wrath of Ashardalin, Castle Ravenloft, and Legend of Drizzt, if you are familiar with those games. He says this game's pretty much play the same. There is a few differences. The major one being in this one, you can go to town. It sounds like there is a town tile that will be laid down, and you can go in and sell your items, purchase upgrades to items like +1 damage if you would like. Unfortunately, the levels still only go to level 1 and level 2. I was really kind of hoping they would let us go above level 2, because if you've ever played any of the other board games, you know how you're kind of, I think, almost neutered in the aspect that you're only level 1 or 2. But it sounds like this one plays pretty similar, and he really liked the way it played, and they made a few tweaks to the gameplay too, so I'm really looking forward to checking this out. We'll probably pick it up, and I'm hoping, if I don't pick it up before Gen Con, I'm hoping to actually play it at Gen Con, and maybe I might just wait and pick it up there from Wizards themselves.
All right, and looks like someone else was brave enough to take a peek inside of the temple. We're a lot of brave folk here today.
There was a lot of brave people looking at the Temple of Elemental Evil board game. They had a prominent place in the New York Toy Fair last weekend, and we actually got to see what the cards look like, what the figures look like, and what the box looks like. So if you want to take a peek at that, you can head over to the site. And I also there was a user on Board Game Geek that decided he wanted to print up a new slipcover for his box when he buys it. And he designed it to make it look exactly like the original Temple of Elemental Evil module. And if you look at the box that he created, it's amazing looking. So it does. It looks just like the front cover of the mod. So he said, I linked the forum post over on Board Game Geek. He said once the actual box comes out and he gets the specific dimensions of the box, he will actually have a PDF that you can download and print, and you can do this to your box as well.
All right, that should spice up anyone. Any classic members look into that. We also have a pair of reviews on D&D related products. The first of these is from the Temple of Elemental Evil. That's right. There is a video by Tom Vassell of the Dice Tower, which is showing off all the various parts of the Temple of Elemental Evil, and he goes through, explains the gameplay, and shows you each of the pieces and things like that. So if you actually want to see someone handling the components in a video, you could go to the Dice Tower, or of course you go to our site and click on the link there for the YouTube thing, and they'll take you to the video there. And he also did another review on another game that coming out very soon, and that is D&D Dice Masters. Now, Dice Masters isn't a dungeon crawl type game like the Temple of Elemental Evil. It's more of a confrontational game. Someone had described it, actually I think Tom Vassell did, describes it as Magic the Gathering meets Dominion. Now, I have a feeling most of you know what Magic the Gathering is, because that's a collectible card game where you're a planeswalker, you're summoned beast to help fight for you and all that stuff. In Dice Masters, it has a similar idea, is that you're recruiting dice instead of cards, and you use these in order to help fight for you and try to get back down the life of your opponent on that stuff. And the reason why it says Dominion meets, some of you might not know what Dominion is, but it's what's known as a deck building game where you start out with a bunch of NPCs and you use the power you get from them in order to hire more dice so that you could get more powerful dice. And these can be various types, either monsters you could hire or various classes and the like. So heroic things or even monsters. And that's how Dice Masters work. You could see a review for that for Tom Vassell to get a better idea of what this game is. There are other Dice Masters sets that exist, but this one is D&D themed. It's the first one I've thought about getting because there's a D&D theme on it, because I wasn't too enamored with the original game's superheroes theme to it.
Yeah, and if you haven't actually seen a review done by Dice Tower, I implore you to go check this out, because the way they do reviews is amazing. They do such a great job.
But some people do complain about what he does with the gavel at the end.
Yeah, well, I like it, so there.
He got a gavel in one of the games that he was reviewing it. So there was some game that he was reviewing one time that had a gavel, and ever since that time he's been using that gavel at the end of his reviews. Right, that concludes our news beyond DDO. So let's head on to Mythery. And Mythery, could you tell us a little bit about the Damsels of DDO?
Sure. Well, we're 3 girls that like to game together, and we are totally just in it to have fun. We're not too serious about anything.
I never would have guessed.
We just want to play. And so tomorrow night we'll be playing our Wolf Pack and continuing on in the series we started last time. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's the one where you go into the nut house at some point, and Dirk's in there. The Sane Asylum one. Well, there's 2 chains. One starts in the harbor, which is where we are, and then finishes up in the marketplace, I think. Or the 12 finishes it. And so we're continuing that tomorrow. We have basically 2 sets of characters that we play when we're playing. That one is our Wolf Pack, and one is our epic level characters. So we go and we do epics. And Lessa's my paladin, and she protects me, and she follows me around, make sure I don't get in too much trouble. Saba Jade is the one that makes sure that Lessa and I complete the quest.
All right.
So Saba keeps you in line, huh?
Right. We get, shiny things on the floor, and we get, sidetracked, and so then eventually Saba will say, "Where are you 2?" And she'll be somewhere else and, following the quest line, and we have to go find her.
Oh, actually staying on the track for the quest?
Well, Pine Leaf kind of knows all about that, because I tend to do that too, like when we're playing, since especially I'm a rogue. If I see a chest somewhere, I'll be like, "Oh, look, chest!" And then I'll forget he's over somewhere else fighting something, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I should probably go over there with him."
Sneaky drow.
Then after we Twitch our questing, and then the day after that, we'll do a podcast and talk about what we did. And that's what we do.
All right, then.
I was told, though, that I'm to say to Bonnie Bew that the National Protection for Owlbear Society is currently looking for a new leader.
I was going to ask you about the owlbear thing. Can you explain to us and all of our listeners what this whole owlbear thing is that's happening right now? It's a whole movement I'm seeing, and I'm just curious as to what's going on.
Poor Bonnie. We think the owlbears are nice and cute and should be protected, and so there was a society formed, and Bonnie Bew was the organizer and leader of the protection for the owlbears. And we went out questing one day, and she killed one. We were appalled. We were so upset. It was sad. We all cried. And Bonnie said that it was an act of mercy, so I tend to believe her. I don't know what everybody else believes, but I believe her. But now I heard today that they're looking for a new leader, so I think she's in trouble.
Poor Bonnie.
Cat's freaking out.
And we have a special guest with us. The cat is not very happy, as it would seem.
He was sleeping, so I thought it was safe, but apparently he woke up.
All right. You never know when a cat is going to spring to life.
And when do you guys Twitch your show out?
We Twitch on Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Pacific time. And we do 3 Tuesdays in a row, and then we take a Tuesday off because we need a break. And then we podcast the following Wednesday for each one of our Twitch.
And just for the record,
same time.
Bonnie Bew is in the chat, and she says she blames the DMs because they create dungeons that foster a culture where killing owlbears is encouraged. And she says your cat is just defending her honor.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right, then.
Well, my cat has a pet owlbear, so it probably sticks up.
There you go.
All right, let's go into our week in Lotro. So Mythery, could you start us off by telling us what you did this week?
Well, one of the things that I did was I created a new level 1 bard character. Saba's sister has decided to start playing DDO with us. And she's never played before, so we're going slow and introducing her to everything. And I made a little bard named Cadence. And we're still on Corthos Island. We've been there for 2 playing sessions. It's a lot of fun to watch Aubrey walking the walls, try to cast spells. No, she's really doing a good job. She's catching on really fast. But it is reminding all of us what it was like to be new, and not know everything. There's a lot of stuff in this game to learn.
So, like us is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. Another thing I did was make a new Permadeath character. We're allowed to start at level 4, so she's 4, and we needed someone to play the roguish type person in our group, and for some reason, usually that's Saba, but we rolled dice to do our characters this time. And I ended up rolling that I could make a specialist, so I made an artificer, so I'm going to do all the traps and secret doors and things like that.
All right. So you'll unlock all the doors then.
I will.
All right. Drac, what did you do?
Well, my rogue, who is still level 13, I had one more quest left in my quest log from House Jarasco, and that was the Beyond the Grave quest. Did that one. I finally figured out what I needed to do, and thankfully my hirelings cooperated and did what they were supposed to, which I know is a shock beyond shock. Basically, in that quest, if you don't remember which that quest is, you go in and you have to light funeral pyres. There's 4 of them spread throughout the map. But there's also zombies and skeletons that go attack the gate to get into House Jarasco. And you have to make sure that gate doesn't get totally demolished. So I left 2 hirelings at the gate to take care of that. and then took a cleric with me, and then I killed, the zombies and the skeletons that were out at the funeral pyres, and lit the funeral pyres, and then the actual boss comes out, who is a wraith, and I led him kind of towards the gate and had my other hirelings help me. So that one was pretty easy, got that one done. So I guess I'm done with El Churrasco because I don't see any other quest. I assume there's probably more somewhere, but I'll have to find them. And that was really all I did on my rogue this week. I did play my Shatterkai assassin a little bit. Still level 15 on her, and I was basically just doing Wayloon. All I really did is just worked on the slayers and the encounters and such. I know there's quests in Wayloon, but for some reason I can't find any. All the quests I'm finding in there are like level 27. So I know there's like level 15 and 16 Wayloon quests. Can anybody point me in the direction of where to find them? I'm apparently looking in the wrong spot because I'm finding just high level quests. So
they're actually they're standing right near the guys that give out the epic level quest. I think it's a woman that you need to talk to who hands out the chain, and then right around her are the people that give the quest.
Okay, so right outside the gate before you go in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I will tell, because the one person I talked to did give me a quest, and then once I got in there, I looked at it, and I found out it was like a level 27, and I'm like,
right. Oh. And she's right near the guy that you talked to.
Okay. All right.
There's some great stuff coming out of there.
Yeah, I actually like Wayloon a lot. I know some people, I guess, don't like it, but I'm really enjoying it, and I really like my Shatterkai a lot, too. So once I get used to playing it, because it's a lot different than just a normal rogue.
Right. I have one of those. I love that chain.
So yeah, I do, too. That's like my favorite skill to do is just do that chain and just knock everybody down. Mm-hmm. But it sucks when you come up against one of them in there, though. Oh, that chain sucks when it's used.
Oh, no kidding. They're scary. I run when I see Shatterkai coming at me.
I like using the chain on people, but I don't like it getting used on me. So.
You reminded me of an incident from the Voyage of the Beagle where when Charles Darwin was in South America, he was shown how to use the bolas, so he was attempting to use the bolas, and he managed to get the bolas wrapped around in a tree that wound up wrapping around him. and the gauchos were all laughing at him, saying he's the first person they ever saw who ever managed to catch himself in the bolas.
And that's pretty much it, other than what I did on my Ranger Rogue, who was a level 11. And, of course, I did that. That's the one I run with Pine Leap on Wednesdays. And, as always, I'll let him tell you what we did.
All right, what we did this week. We first did Ataraxia's Haven. I'm not trying to remember what was in Ataraxia's Haven. That's right. We went to this island, and I think I remember fighting a lot of lions and...
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We went on this island. We were looking all over the place for various things. And that's right. We were supposed to go to the center for something, but we wound up instead going all the way around the island. And eventually we did Skyros' Jewel. And I remember going up that's the one that was going up the lighthouse, I believe. Yes, that was the one going up the lighthouse. We managed to get up to the top of the lighthouse in the end and finish that quest. Though actually we went up to the top of the lighthouse before finishing one of the optionals, but that's another matter.
Yeah, because I had did that already on my just pure rogue, so I knew how to get up to the top of the lighthouse because you go up there and you click the door and then you go out of the lighthouse and then you jump and that's how you get the explorer point. And I told Blind Leaf that, but before I told him, but don't click it because you can't, he was already outside. I was like, don't click, and he's like, don't click, I'm outside. And I'm like, well, you can't come back in, so much for that option.
Oh, well.
Little hint for you all when you're doing that, make sure you're done inside there, because you have to go clear back down through the cave and back up to get back into the lighthouse. So, little tip for you.
Well, between those two items there, I did finally hit 400 favor total on my character. And that means at some point I'm going to create a drow just because I can, since that unlocked the drow for me.
Welcome to the world of the drow, Pine Leaf.
Oh, yes. And somehow I have a feeling I won't be allowed to name my drow Eclavarda, I think was her name. Do you remember?
Oh, no, I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what it is.
Yes. So I'll have to. It's hard because I haven't read that name, I think, probably in 15 years or something like that since the last time I read the Fire Giant module. Also, on my Permadeath Bard, I did the Sharn Syndicate, and that included Slab, Dirty Laundry, the Storm Reaver Fresco, Repossession, and I even succeeded in the book Binder Rescue this time, which my Barbarian could not do.
So what did...
Tough quest.
Yeah, it is. What did you do different this time, if anything, or do you think it's just because you were on the Bard, maybe?
Let's see. I had the cleric there. I summoned my dog, so I was summoning dogs, so I always had a celestial dog with me for most of the quest, so maybe the celestial dog helped to take some of the pressure off. And the NPCs seemed not to trigger the traps as much last time, but somehow I managed to, I don't know, maybe I wasn't as aggressive in running into the room or something like that. Somehow it worked this time. I was a little bit more cautious in going in, and the NPCs seemed to be better behaved.
But the important moral of the story is you're still alive on your Permadeath character.
Yeah, I'm still alive on my Permadeath character, and the character's not dead in my eyes like the Barbarian was. So that means that next week I'll have to finish up the Sharn Syndicate because there is still the last one, which is always a real fun event, doing that very last quest in there and surviving that. And then I get to go after the seal. So we'll see how that works. So let's go into... Actually, before we go into donations, I'm going to ask Mythery if there's anything else she wants to add.
I think we confused her.
Donate to support me in the manner to which I have been accustomed. All donations go to Mythery.
Well, if you would like to help support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on the DDO Players News, or even to be able to guest host with us. We did not receive any iTunes reviews this week, but we would just love your support. We'd even love to have some of your comments, because apparently we've been having a dearth of comments recently, and of emails. If you'd like to email us, then you can email us at podcast@ddoplayers.com. You could also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Draculeta @Draculeta_72, Pineleaf @PineleafNeedles, and you can follow our guest, Mythery, @Mythery1. The Players Alliance has 3 live shows every week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have Guild Wars Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. And you can join us for our live shows. Just go to ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to loot those treasure chests.
Bye.